Hello, and welcome to my lovely, inspiring human potential community. To everyone tuning in, before we get started on today's topic, that is in pursuit of those keys to inner growth and following your heart to the life of an entrepreneur, and to much more that I talk about, guide about, from the podcast to the blog to other online presences which are known to those who continuously tune in. Special announcement: Anchor has allowed finally that listener support button, which means the world for everything that I pursue and wanting to share, and for those who are looking to support the inspiring human potential mission, its purpose, and anyone who believes in general in inspiring human potential, because that's one of those amazing things we can do, and the online world has brought us to be able and do connect, support, and together we will achieve that harmony worldwide. So if you wish to contribute because the inner growth process mindset has contributed to your life, or because you believe in inspiring the world through these different means, please do so. Thank you so much for doing so. And as always, you can reach out if you want to collaborate, if you want to share your story, if you have a personal development process mindset, something that can contribute to others in their unlocking of their untapped, unlimited potential. Reach out to me. The blog, luna12780.com, has my email in the About section. And let's move on to today's topic. As always, the lovely online community has at heart us online entrepreneurs, content creators. We have many different names, but we are all here to inspire human potential in our unique way. And for the inspiring human potential community, we have new podcast patron members only episodes coming this year, because Patreon has started something to support the podcast community, and we are going to use that in a way that expands the inner growth learning material and the ability for you to follow your heart, applying the things that we discuss in our daily Anchor IHP podcast show. So inner growth mindset, lifestyle choices, the journey, the way that you can work through anything that is arising at first as conflict, but that those who tune into any of the material, whether the podcast, the blog, or the website, know that's the opportunity for inner growth and for you to follow your heart. So I look forward to hearing from you all for this first round. It'll be the first year that we have patron members only podcast episodes. With your feedback, I'm sure we will continue to improve and expand all the material that is meant to inspire your higher human potential. I look forward to you joining us. Before we begin today's topic, I would like to share a bit about the foundation of all of the inspiring human potential inner growth content. What you learn about and what we discuss has its foundation in a lifelong accumulated research that involves the fields of humanities and social sciences, philosophy with a focus on existentialism, and recently added basics of neuroscience, physiology, and biology. This research continues, and the wealth of information that I share across different platforms is in the effort to support your inner growth, self-empowerment, conscious living, ascension, awakening, and personal development journey in a way that allows you to understand the distinct human characteristics involved in your day-to-day and overall life, alongside the choices you make, how you feel, and deal with events such as the unknown and unwanted. A simplified breakdown, just to give you an idea, and for the IHP community to keep in mind as you pursue inner growth and self-empowerment, is what is involved in the human's response to day-to-day events and life happening. We have been able to review this, and we always review some aspects throughout the episodes and all the content. 1, the body's nervous system's defense mechanism, flight, fight, response. 2, the heart's feelings, emotions, ego, self-response. 3, the mind's conscious, subconscious, and conscious response alongside the established neural pathways, societal culture and knowledge filters, identity, secondary and primary consciousness aspects. This and more is what is involved as you tune into and read the IHP content, whether it be on the blog, the YouTube channel, patron membership site, or the website itself, or the podcast. You will always get to learn something about how to apply an inner growth mindset and lifestyle approach, how to follow your heart and lead with it with that unconditional love, neutrality that we so much discuss, why it's important. And all of this allows you to tap into that infinite higher human potential, which is also a response that one acquires as a body, mind, and heart that is one within you with that ownership. As we discuss many times, when you are seeking information, you want to notice, 1, how have you always sought information? Example, for as much as I'm considered the stubborn person in the household, I'm definitely somebody who's always looked to more and more books. And as I was able to get to neutrality, that space of, wait a minute, there isn't only this duality that the external world in different ways, shapes, and forms presents me. There's actually the whole, like Carl Jung says, it's transcendent function, leaps of consciousness for a reason. Because you're allowing your mind to actually navigate beyond, oh no, there's only 10 sets of rules of how to do this. Oh, there's only 10 experts from the past that said this, so this new expert can't be right. It's a way of approaching information that not all are inclined to be in, and not all in society are inclined to empower, because they're telling you versus sharing with you for a good portion of those experts in leadership, quote unquote, are in their ego. Yes, they know their topic, but they are considering they're fixing, telling, providing a solution. So there's a goal, there's an intent with that information that is to support in a way that isn't expansive of the individual per se, so of the entire topic, but its aim, the beginning of why, was with the, wait a minute, this hurts, this is wrong, this is with the hurt. Now that I think about it, it's with that fear component, which we know that nervous system's first societal engagement response for every one of us as a human being, and the beginning of our society as a whole, we came without any tools, we created fire. That's when our gut actually freed up some energy and our thinking brain began to develop. So we are consciousness. That's how we are able to even have these conversations, but it's through the secondary consciousness that we have these conversations. Our core is primary consciousness, and now that the nervous system's response is being integrated into psychiatry, psychology, it's knowledgeable now, knowledge that is being shared. Just the other day I saw this YouTube video, it was an ad about the vagus nerve, and I was like, okay, this makes sense, because I saw they allowed us to see on this ad like the entire route, so it goes through our entire body. And the vagus nerve is talked about by the trauma doctors that I've participated in the courses on. Those who tune in know this. So all this knowledge of our physiology is finally coming to the forefront. Why? Because we have the technology. That's why. Now, there are still those who are not utilizing this information, and they're still labeling people according to the duality, but that will transform as the popular knowledge, because people need it to be popular before it can become the truth. Once that happens, everybody will be talking about the vagus nerve, the nervous system, and topics the same way they do with the labels of like the narcissist and empath. And I know that that's not the only group of labels, but that's the one group of labels that holds a big portion of stigma, and that is being utilized extensively by a lot of people within their own relationships, versus recognizing that, everything that our psychologists give us, there are those not extremes, but there's different levels of that. So this word narcissist is used almost with any person who exhibits some level of egocentrism, which we all have ego. That's the other part of how ascension, awakening, enlightenment is discussed by certain individuals, telling you to get rid of the ego, telling you to transcend the ego, talking to you in a way that isn't empowering you with the information. Here's how, you can see the ego working, for example. And I'm going to give you a very specific, to the best of my ability, example again, because yesterday we talked a little bit about the ego, and I was presenting to scenario when I closed off, because I didn't have that much time yesterday to share with you guys. And today it's the same thing. I was like, I need to mention this again. So there's a very distinct feeling when ego is involved. And it's always going to be a way that isn't, I'm expanded. It's always going to have some form of resistance. I want to use that word resistance, though not towards what's happening as much as a feeling of constriction, confinement. So the soul, the heart of you, the essence of you feels at a non-ease, in which it makes sense with, again, that nervous system response, and us having primary procedural, memory with our primary consciousness, so being sensorial, and us already feeling that there's an outside, there's other. So duality, see, even if there weren't duality, we still would know there's other in our state of preverbal, stage as infants. So as a species, we continue to evolve together with societal culture, with societal knowledge. Now that there's the technology to show, no, humans aren't born with some demon in their soul, just an example. Here's actually what happens when you neglect a child, leave them to cry unattended for days or even just hours. Their nervous system's trying to defend them. Their senses are overwhelmed. They're not learning to manage their senses. That will lead to a self that is not one. They don't know who they are. They have fragmented selves. They don't know how to love themselves. They don't know how to worth nothing. So how can you expect that child who has all of these inputs that are firing with flight fight? So literally they're in that flight fight. And so the Vegas article or YouTube video that I saw actually showed this, what happens when it's not freely working. I forget how they put it, but they showed a diagram of what parts of the brain. So if your vagus nerve is very much doing what it needs to do, again, I forget the wordings they use, then the conscious part, the thinking part of the brain, it expands. But if it isn't, then it's confined to your flight fight mode. And I'm certain it all has to do with not one element, because see, we're not only a body. We breathe, which regulates the nervous system. As we're breathing and interacting with life from the minute we're born, we don't know what that is. At 6 months, you have that first night terror, and you recognize consciously you're not one with your parent. Now, everyone has a different way they're going to react. All I can use is my example, because I know enough about what I am, right? I'm my person, to say I know that I probably was like, what the heck is going on? Just because of the type of personality traits I had as I was growing up. I can see exactly how my body felt, and it did not feel secure or safe because it didn't know what was going on. I love knowledge. You get to know yourself when you stop using labels that have been given to you from even the psychologist, the psychiatrist. You label you are not working with you and exploring you. That's not how you are working with yourself. You're simply telling yourself according to this information that is being given to you in that way of, I'm going to fix a problem. So that's the second element. You don't need fixing. if you and many people think that well, this if you think you need fixing, then that's how you're going to treat the information that comes your way. Your body is responding with defense mode in that moment. There's a very big difference when information is sought for curiosity versus when information is sought because there's an ego immediate response, as when you're an infant, what the heck is going on? And so here's where, for as much as I know I was uncertain about what the heck was going on, as I got older, my way of seeking answers to my questions, I was the annoying child, was through information. And for as much as I'm considered the stubborn person in for everyone, you ask anyone, they will tell you I'm unwavering on everything. And I know why, because I know me and what I want for me. And I don't impose it. I don't need, this is that place where others responding to life with the inclination of the ego's natural defense mechanism. Mommy, daddy, help me. Society, tell me what to do. I want to be supported. And it isn't in a negative way. We should not, the community especially, anybody who's new, we are here to inspire each other's higher human potential in the way that is more natural for every one of us. There's a misconstrued idea of, I think that's the right word, of what that means. And what I mean by that is people, that the way they've answered, but if every human was who they were, they'd go killing themselves, each other, meaning, because this idea of the evil human being. So it's coming from a past. Again, our species, we began with fire. We were definitely tribal and in nature, and we had things that took place at the time, for there was no knowledge with technology. There was, what the heck is nature? There was fear. The thunder could kill you, and a lion could kill you. So this idea even of humanity being evil, comparing it to a past, it's actually quite illogical. What did you expect humanity that didn't have a brain that was thinking and didn't have all the knowledge that came in time? Like, keeping with the time frame is very it's very not nice, and even today things are being judged from the past with very, very heavy opinions because there's hurt involved. But it's a organizing of all humanity is this because of this, versus there are moments where we're learning. So the criticism on humanity as a species from those who are in that space, and there are a lot, all the ones in the 3D, 4D space, they're all looking at humanity and life with a negative imprint, looking to the past as if they should have known. And this is where, when we're infants, do we know? No, we don't know. Somebody can expect you to know, but that's kind of, again, illogical, because knowledge is formulated in time when I'm reading, and it's given to me, by the way. The brain, guess what? From 0 to 2 years of age, only your emotional brain hemisphere is organizing physiologically. Then your rational brain hemisphere from 3 years of age on. By 10 months old, you've established how you're going to interact with people based on your own household. Your first filters are you. Like, all these elements, nobody's telling people this. They're only giving them, and it's not even giving them. This is where knowledge is commonly given and shared. People take it with the idea of what was taught to them about society, which is this perpetuating, which is just beyond me. Anyways, the 5D individuals are the ones who are in fact transforming the conversations. Those of us who are saying, hey, wait a minute, we don't have to use this type of language. We can use a different type of language to talk to each other, and we want to respect all. It's not only about one group or another group. Those people are the ones who are making the difference. The other people are doing the same thing our ancestors did, even though it's not in a tribal format anymore, or the medieval format. Same exact thing. The only difference is the way it is expressed. And I can think of another gazillion things that I'm not going to focus on right now, because it's more important for us to get to this topic of the versatility from within you. So what do I mean by being versatile from within, and how does it make a difference when challenges arise? For those of you who have been pursuing the inner growth journey, you know that challenges are opportunities. And once you get to that advanced space of the inner growth program, that would be when you begin to be impartial from your secondary consciousness. So you are aware of the ego. You're aware when you begin feeling the ego present. And that means you're going to tend to it. You're not going to scold it like you're an infant, and you're not going to scold it like you think all of humanity is this piece of crap, because you're human too, and you recognize that it has everything to do with fear in the physiological sense. It's not about fear in the second layer, I'm insecure, I don't know, I'm anxious. Those are all character traits that have come and they've been presented to you, and now you have them. You get to know those. Like, example, when I meet anybody new, if I feel that there will be a relationship that develops, I present character traits that I know annoy people, because this is where I'm not any different than who I was when I was a child. And some people think of that as a negative. I've been told that, not to mention they mansplain me and say, no, you're not. And it's like, I just let it be. Because once again, that's ego. They're telling another human being what they think of them without being in the awareness that you can't do that. Meaning, you can tell me what you think. You can tell me what you think of me. You can even tell me how you feel about everything. You can't mansplain, so you shouldn't, is what I should say. Everybody does that. That is not an empowered ego, because they are in fact filling each other's needs. They are looking to each other to know themselves, which is also why it's that mirror. The mirror thing is a perfect quote, and I'm gonna read it. I know people are like, again, yeah, we need to read this one, because for anyone who's new, this one is really, really a good one for them to hear. It will help to put things into a specific space for yourself with other people. So the mirror thing, and it's not mine, I read it somewhere. They don't cite the owner of it. My life is a mirror. I understand that the people that surround me mirrors different aspects about myself. The people that I feel love towards reflect my love back to me. The people that I dislike reflects the part of me that needs healing. I'm opening up to heal and move into complete love. So, like the community knows, it's not about the healing. When you dislike something, that's your own ego, which is your own identity, which is your own opinion, which has a foundation that is very important to you. And this is exactly why there are so many of those ego mind and ego spiritual based leaders that are spreading boxed up fixes and not actually transcending the hurt part, which is what would free them, so to speak. And that is what will allow the information, the energy, the everything of a situation to move to a expansive, healthier, more loving place. The part is that they categorize that which they dislike as the enemy. And they have their real evidence. So here, let's do the cognitive dissonance, so that people, again, who are new have this information, because it's always helpful to recognize this for every one of us, that cognitive dissonance is taking place. As soon as you get upset with somebody for saying something different, you are reacting with your ego. And while when you're a child, you get taught how not to misbehave, meaning respect other people, this doesn't really get expanded to all, because you have your ego mind and ego spiritual based group leaders, and you've been following them all along. So again, if you recognize how you've sought information, you would know. An independent thinker is somebody that doesn't have a set of rules. This is somebody who doesn't get the cognitive dissonance. Example, I've always discussed / argued is what they say, but for me, I've always queried and been curious about expanding on a topic. I can go on end on anything. Socrates was one of my favorites, because he would ask all these questions. And I remember when they described Socrates, he was annoying to other people, and they labeled him this devil's advocate. But to me, it was him seeking new information, more information. What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong, but that's for a curious mind. For a mind who has decided, no, there's only 10 truths, they find that annoying, perhaps, because that infinite knowledge is scary, because the mind wants to know, because the eyes want to know, because a consciousness, which is now secondary, which is what began once we started the secondary consciousness development as a human species in our brain. The rational hemisphere of our brain is the youngest part of our brain. There is no certainty to what's afterlife, as the psychologist put it, the human dilemma. I live and I know that I die and I don't know what's after death. And to this day, there are those who are amazing people, and they don't recognize that when they're giving us information, they are doing so with that place of fear, because it's the way, again, that information is shared. When it's open-ended and comfortable and at ease, that's where the person is saying, hey, this is what's adding to our information bank. And we most certainly will get maybe some more information, but for now, here's the best of what we could gather. It will always be positive, like our podcast episode, Reflection is Positive with Neutrality, because they're not looking at it in, I have to fix something. They're actually curious about the subject matter. Example, my love and passion for humanity and wanting to help humanity and looking into every one of those subject matters about human behavior. Even though I was in duality the same way others, it was never with that heart. It really was never, which is why to this day I have not an issue, but my ego, my person, my heart still is completely disappointed in leadership. Because see, while others will have looked to their peers, I looked to the word that was given to me as a child and given to me with specific criteria, which is why I listened, which is why once I realized that was false, I was like, well, I'm not listening to anybody, that's for darn sure. And it included every human being and anything in general. Like, there's only one thing I listen to, it's my heart. And then my mind allows me to look for that information. The versatility comes from within. The centeredness comes from within. The information is provided to me. The law is my word, my heart. And the law includes respecting others. This is where people who are distracted, so once again, they're not pursuing inner growth. They're thinking, but everybody's going to go haywire, the same way Locke and Hobbes basically presented, and I forget the titles since in my political science bachelor's, though, they're the founding, I can't remember specifics ever, but they're the founding fathers, or they're the founding of democracy, of political philosophy. So they're very important. Is what I'm trying to get at. And I remember both of them, though, they explain why humanity would need a system. And here's again where you recognize, if that was presented, of course there's this myth, this idea that humanity is evil. That's where it began with this word, and that word existed because they didn't have the technology to get to the cellular level of the human body to understand when neuroreceptors are firing a certain way, and if somebody has brain damage, that this is going to create a certain type of behavior. They only had the invisible, the unknown, and by then there are belief systems. We began with different gods. Then there was institutionalized religion. The civilization started to create city-states. They started to create a certain type of way of living, which then created the politicians. So all of this, again, without creating the duality, you allow that versatility of how you're going to explore what actually is our human species evolution. It's not only one layer. It's not only the body. It's not only the heart. So the ego and us, for example, once the medieval time was over, the first time we created a tool, this was from one of my psychology books, is where the human lost their purpose, their identity. And from that moment forth, there was, and in fact today we're going to make this switch, because today is where we realize the importance of our consciousness. And so many are expressing and looking into their inner world. That's why I love the new generation. The ones who are quote unquote resisting are the older people who are clinging on to the past and to their old, rules. But you already see the older generation who is following now the new trends, because they become trends, because science is proving their benefits to well-being. They're now speaking about a lot of different things. So once again, versatility, it's awesome, and it always stems from within, but If you're doing societal engagement, you're following your ego mind and our ego spiritual based leaders. You're following only the 10 rules. You're still in duality. You're not independent just yet. And the feeling is very different because you're seeking information with the idea of, and it's really, again, the feeling, but it's, oh, I need to fix this. So the changing you, the rewiring your brain, there's a lot of ways that they're presenting the information. It's not about the information not being good. All information is valuable. It's about you recognizing when you're seeking, again, why. And that's simply about, okay, wait, I am seeking. I have fear. When you notice the fear, so the ego space, that's where you tend to it by allowing yourself to get the information, but reconfirm who's your law. Is your law are you going to feel safe within your own body, within your own intuition? It is a choice. The inner growth journey is a choice. It's a choice of transcending inner conflict. It's a choice of that 5D, the complete unconditional love and light, which is neutrality. So I share with you why this makes a difference in your life, from the body to the heart to the mind, and how it makes a difference for your person, you. Your person means you. We are never talking about the external except for how we can help humanity to see how beautiful they are and how beautiful we all are, and how much when we're hurt, we do things that seem evil. And the more you do quote unquote evil, the more you're hurt. The more that person did not receive any sense of security or comfort at their infant age. This is just so important. And it isn't about you having to hang out with people. It's actually simply about you transcending your idea that you can judge another human being, that you can cast that stone. When they say you don't know somebody's heart, it's because you don't know their ego. You don't know what they went through. And even if they told you, they wouldn't think of their upbringing that way. You guys know how many people I know that don't consider themselves traumatized, that they consider the way they are perfectly fine and just a character trait, because that's that popular psychology. That's that popular labeling that people use with each other. The same thing with the whole narcissist empath dynamic. I got a bazillion friends that are in that space. Every time they talk about it, I present to them information and I say, you're hurt, they're hurt. How about you just remove yourself from the situation and move on with your life? But really, what I would want to say additionally is, how about you heal the judgment that you have on another human being, because really you're not seeing the full picture. So when ego's involved, there's a place of hurt. And I'm going to give you that example now before we keep going. The cognitive dissonance. This is why people get upset when their beliefs are challenged. A mental conflict occurs when beliefs are contradicted by new information. This conflict activates areas of the brain involved in personal identity and emotional response to threats. The brain's alarms go off when a person feels threatened on a deeply personal and emotional level, causing them to shut down and disregard any rational evidence that contradicts what they previously regarded as truth. So, that rational thing, I still read it because I'm reading it as, but this is where it's subjective. There's a lot of quote-unquote rational evidence that people use. Let us stick to those tangible aspects. Respect other people's lives. You stay safe for your life. There's a system that, yes, needs improvement, but we have the police, we have government. This is where we have everything we need. What you want to do if you are looking to bring a transformation to the world is to be able and be a human who can understand others have ego, and they have egocentrism the same way we all do. By 14 months, we all know what we want. And then by 18 months, we also know what others want from us. And that first nervous system's response, again, is the societal engagement. So it's not only that you're going to replicate interactions with other children to get the same dynamic that you have in the household. If your ego felt secure or not, and those aspects that it wasn't able to process, you're going to create and have those different types, right? We have secure attachment, avoidant attachment, ambivalent attachment, and procedural attachment. So I'm not going to review them all because of a limited time, but the point is you have a way that you do things because of how safe or not safe you feel. At the core of you is the sense of security, and if not, you are helpless. Those overwhelmed sensations do not allow the brain to organize in a specific way. So when the ego is present, to this day, sometimes, that's the part, you can't get rid of it, which is why thinking that you can is creating blind spots for people. The more you can love who you are and who others are, and those dislike areas, you organize them in your human elements, knowing, of course, I have opinions. Duh, everybody does, but mine are not the only one that exist, okay? That's where you're transforming your relationship with aspects, okay? So when I'm interacting with people, yesterday I was telling you, I know there are people that are in my life that they get spiteful. They also get envious and jealous, and they do things with that insecure ego. And it's very clear. It's always been clear to me since I began interacting with humanity, which is why I kept asking, why do people do what they do? And I kept reading and finding out more and more about it. As a teenager, I recognized the inconsistency, the hypocrisy. You can't trust, not because of needing, though. So here, I'm an empowered ego. I didn't ever say I'm going to need you, because this to me was not unconditional love. The word unconditional love is made very clear by Jesus, God, and my mother. You don't go and expect things if it's unconditional. There's no, this is where there's no, if you say conditional love, okay, but not unconditional love. So for me, the truth is to be a loving human being unconditionally, which means I don't go with the intent to want. Otherwise, that's a hypocrisy. And that is what I realized people would do. They're doing things with their ego and they're not admitting it, but why? And here is again the difference. For all of you will know who you are. If you are leading with society engagement, you are finding your ego group to belong to, and then gossip and or just talk about humanity, and you stay in that space as you get older. I see them all the time. I'm friends with them. My way didn't work. This was where the psychology explained what was going on, and that there's the insecure ego, and many people don't get to that subconscious and conscious. And even those who do, again, if they keep on staying in the duality, they're going to keep doing the societal engagement that sociologists speak of. When we're vulnerable, we have interactions. What the sociologists that I've read so far, maybe this is changing now that neuroscience is, again, very much saying, hey, there's this procedural attachment or memory. Oh gosh, I forgot words. No, procedural memory. Yes, I'm thinking of disorganized and ambivalent attachment right now. That's why. The procedural memory, so the body learning to defend itself through senses. The sociologists, when they break down why family members interact with each other and are able to trigger, it's all about validation. And so while what I have read and seen so far is not all inclusive of the nervous system's response and saying, okay, there's procedural memory here. They establish this pattern of behavior by 10 months old because it's new information. Once that gets out, this is where they will transcend these concepts which are based on labeling, which are based on duality. Maybe, because the thing about academics, unfortunately, is they still are very much in their egos, meaning they're looking for information to prove something, and that proof is something that it's emotional. Usually there's I'm here to do this because this is the right thing to do. And while, yes, that is something that we all do, the difference for the 5D person is you're not doing it with right or wrong. Again, that searching, that seeking, and that expressing is to contribute to the versatility of humanity. So there's not one subject matter, and that you're seeking to find out more about your subject matter because you have the passion for it. And here is very different when you're passionate about something versus the fear, which the fear again comes from a hurt, meaning it comes from an experience that took something from you that your ego felt helpless in. So it's now seeking to find its sense of security. When we began asking why, our religion began for that. Now I love Jesus. I love being raised Catholic, but I transcend it completely, meaning I know that unknown space, one, if anything, it's all about energy. That's it. that's really with the microscopic level of information at this point that we have. This is my truth. I know it. I feel it to be true, and I understand why it would be so challenging for people to accept. Now, I do know those who are already in a 5D space that you guys are like, yeah, the ones who are not. Again, this is my opinion. It's not meant to say it's the one truth. In fact, I know that I don't know the one truth. I'm presenting to you, though, my data points to give you an example of what I hold to be that neutrality that's walking its path. So like with quantum physics, all the new science, it's walking a specific path with our cellular level. And while our belief system is amazing, again, and amazing, the heart, the unconditional love, don't get me wrong, because unfortunately there's a lot of not so amazing things that come from the leadership of all the monotheistic religions and all religions in general. This, and when I say all, I mean all. I'm not excluding anyone, because I've had interactions even with the other religions. I'm not going to be specific right now, but I have groups of people that are in the newly more accepted, more desirable, more all-inclusive religions, and or even just spirituality. They still do the same thing the 3D space does, meaning they label one of these. Just to give you an example, I was at a party with people that are in this specific religious group. I was harassed literally by people asking me why I wasn't converting, and I'm like, dude, I'm Catholic. when I did confirmation, I did it knowing that I'm promising. Like, I'm fine with what I am. My sister will give me a hard time sometimes because she says, you're not practicing. I said, yeah, but my heart is Catholic. It's Christian. I love Jesus. Like, this is that place. I don't want to convert. My heart is in this space. But what I'm trying to say is what that person did to me and the people at this party. I wanted to say, you guys are all here criticizing Catholicism because they're imposing blah, blah, blah. What are you doing to me? What are you doing in this instant? And the funniest thing is, when I've presented this to people that are in that religion, they have justified and said, no, but they're not. They weren't trying to impose. This is where it's not an imposition, but the act is the act of. And if more than one person is continuously asking me in a setting why I haven't converted, when it's clear that I'm here's that ego and people justifying, there's nothing wrong with what was asked. For me, there was nothing wrong for a person asking, so I didn't feel harassed. But if we want to break down the dynamic, that's how somebody can see it. Same thing, I've had people, the evangelists, I think, come to the door, and I've prayed with them, and then they, try to get me again to convert, and I say, look, I've gotten my confirmation, I'm Catholic, and they still will ask 2 or 3 more times, and I'm diplomatically and nicely saying thank you for your offer, but I'm good, kind of thing. The being able to not take it personally, that's where you're in a neutral space and you understand ego and ego identity. So people cherish the things they believe in. Here's where, once you know that not everybody has the same belief, but they all cherish things, you will start treating each other, meaning others, and when they present their ego in a different way, I didn't feel, again, harassed. I use that word, but I don't ever feel harassed. I don't ever feel that somebody is imposing. I have to, though, describe scenarios with dynamics and the way that we're all potentially interacting with it. So for me, no one is ever imposing or doing something in a way that can represent a threat. I may or may not like it, and I always will handle it to the best of my ability. When I have to describe it to you guys, this is where I need to use words that make sense. So this ego aspect that I was trying to get at involves the part when you're feeling that the insecure ego. So in the case of belief, it's something cherished. You can tell when they're doing it from that space, which all the evangelists at the door, as well as these other individuals at the party, they were really just doing it because that's their belief, that's their heart, they love it, and they're trying to spread the word, which is why the irony of you then criticizing another religion that's simply doing the same thing. That's where see, right here is where their ego group is not recognizing that what they're voicing, oh, but those people impose, and then you doing the same thing. Like, no, you both cherish what you are, and you both are trying to get people to adopt it, because you feel it's the best thing for those people. This is why, right here, not thinking that you know what's best for all. And when the academics start doing their research, they're not all in the space of I'm passionately pursuing more knowledge to share with the humanity, with people, this topic. No, they're doing it, I'm going to fix this problem, I'm going to fix this disaster, I'm going to fix. So the heart of you makes a difference in how you're searching information and how you're going to present it. And being versatile here, this is where it's about because I want to use the definition. So versatile, embracing a variety of subjects, fields, or skills. And this is from the Inner Growth Word of the Day. Versatile in a sentence. Being versatile comes as years go by and you learn new things. Versatile in action. Having knowledge of a variety of topics and knowing how to do different things is being versatile. Versatile and inner growth. Exploring your versatile nature and the things you're more inclined to learn brings about inner growth because you take note of where your natural tendencies are. This also means you gain knowledge of the areas that you are less drawn to, which you can also look into so that you understand why you're not drawn to them. So when you look at versatility in subject matters, example me, human behavior. I went through, again, the existentialists, so all philosophers, psychology, sociology. Then the neuroscience was provided to me. And really, there's even more than just the neuroscience because I look at metaphysical topics as well. And it's always, so my versatile knowledge bank involves every aspect of humanity. And really, there's so much more that I have yet to uncover because every subject matter has so much to share and every expert. And here's why the ego is always involved, and I don't mean it in a negative way ever, because we get new perspectives. The empowered ego gets new perspectives. That's how you're adding to your knowledge bank because you're not looking to those pieces of information as your law. You are adding to your knowledge bank. Now, if you're doing searching with the fear element, this is where acknowledging it allows you to make choices from the mind to transcend. And what this means is stopping, for example, to ignore that others have different ways. The party that I was talking to about, if people would acknowledge that they cherish their religion. So yes, they're going to go spread the word. So do every other religions. Instead of labeling it and judging it, because now the Catholic and Christian, well, it's more the Catholic religion has been labeled because, during the Renaissance, because of the history of everything that is a part of it. Now they're this demon religion, basically. And not to the extreme, but there's really a lot of animosity towards the institution of Catholicism. And as a political science major, what gets me every time is like, okay guys, did you forget the time of the medieval? Did you forget what you learned in high school? And I don't have a great memory, but I know exactly how and why the Catholic institution came to be. It was compared to being the government. So here's where, if you remember to allocate what time zone, time frame, you stop judging. Instead, what people do is, oh, we're here today. That was evil. Hello, are you really being objective? You're not, because they didn't have the information you have today. So this is like expecting a 6-year-old to know something at their 6 years old when they were, when they're 20. This is very, very much the person who will stay in that parameter is somebody who is not leading and trying to become an empowered person. They are thinking they know the one truth and nothing but the truth, and that their set ways are the right ways. because that is the only person that I would say would be able to contest, like, hey, we have a history as a species. Now, you may not like it, but here's the thing. And I have had these conversations again with people who will continue to talk about their opinion and why that category of, for example, whether it be the Catholic religious institution or government or politics, they will keep on telling why it's wrong, why it is evil and a negative. And so they're simply voicing their hurt, which is based on their opinion of what should or shouldn't be, versus acknowledging, yes, I have this personal relationship with this thing. And that's where you work with your feelings in a different way, allowing yourself to expand and release the karmic energy. I'll give the example, me with leadership and disappointment. I'm in a very good spot with it, meaning I am neutral. I know that every leader serves their purpose. And the only time the passion, the part that was really, I don't want to say hurtful because it didn't hurt, it was disappointing. So the part of disappointment is very important. Why? Because one, I found out that leadership did not represent unconditional love. I had been looking up to that leadership. I had been conducting myself, my person, according to what I was being told. So the disappointment, in fact, right here, that dislike, when they say the hurt, it isn't hurt for me, but it is disappointment in myself for having not seen what I should have been able to see. Now, here's the beauty of being neutral towards your person, and having, even my mother, when I was little, telling me, you can't know everything if you haven't learned it. Like, how do you expect your brain to know that information? And when you do 1 + 1 = 2, meaning, how do you expect yourself to know knowledge? Because this is where knowledge, without having had the time to accumulate it. There's nothing I can hold against my knowledge bank, because I couldn't know all information immediately, even if I had read every book in the world. And that's the space of when you're being objective, neutral, loving. So again, within, you're centered, and you're not leading your feeling of security or not from the external. So I don't judge me based on the external. I know the external has an opinion of me, and I'll hear it out. What leads my purpose, what leads me, is my heart. And so the realization that I had conducted myself in a way that I didn't want to, that's why the feelings are still there. Not to mention, it goes against the entire ability for people to be themselves. So again, the leadership in the ego mind and ego spiritual based position, which are telling people what to do, are not creating independent human beings. And that's the other part that is always accompanied. But see how it always connects to my own unique ego. So my own unique feelings, thoughts. This is for all of us. We are always driven from the heart. That's the part. When we get upset, there are reasons, which is why it's not about yelling at the ego view or yelling at the others. If you want to pursue inner growth, if you want to achieve your person, you, in everything you do, because you are body, heart, and mind, and you already have a calling, and that calling is always leading you to the next space of your opportunity for growth, which is why when you can be versatile from within, it will make the difference with any challenge that arises, because you won't look at the challenge as a threat, and you won't feel it as a threat, because you'll say, okay, I dislike this, I disagree with this, I didn't want this, I'm not feeling good about this. You know that you're physiologically speaking not in any threat, therefore you do not accept to achieve a space of cognitive dissonance with yourself. You're like, wait a minute, I'm the person who's being upset at this right now. I want to understand why. What's at the heart of the matter for me? And here's where whatever your specific calling is, that versatility, those subject matters are going to be in that arena. And you are going to contribute to your life something more, but also to the same area that you're contributing to. Now, let's just say there's the calling of life, right? That's it. Your regular day-to-day family, right? Your focus are your relationships. It's your day-to-day life is what I'm trying to say. Because here we have people who want to become others that help humanity, right? So entrepreneurship journey, coaching, consulting, practitioners. Then there are those who they just want to live a very good life, well-being with their immediate relationships. That's not good or bad. Again, we all, even within our own circle, and in fact it is through your own circle that you will make that biggest difference, because that's where we then, it's the domino effect. That community helps to then enlarge the community and so forth. The part that is most important is that you get to the heart of the matter for you with love and neutrality, and don't express and don't engage with the hurt, with the judgment, with the condemnation. You don't impose, you don't harass, you don't label, but you're also not expecting there to be this perfect harmony either. So like I was saying, some people would consider dynamics that I've experienced as a harassment. I used the word, but like I said, it wasn't to me that. It didn't feel that way, because I know enough about ego that it's something I expect. I rarely expect people not to be in their ego. In fact, I have a few people that when we're interacting are not in that space. And I can tell because they have amazing conversations with me, and never do I get, any of the labels that are labels of others who talk to me, who are in their own ego without realizing it. Meaning it's a natural thing that individuals have. So that example of ego that I was saying, there are people, yes, that are in my life that come at stuff with envy, jealousy, spitefulness. I in fact, the people in my life, I've known most of them my entire life, and I've never expected. So the trust part, I was shown very soon that you can't trust people. The difference is I didn't need to trust them because they're not, they're there, they're not there. That's not what is creating my life. I'm creating my life with every action that I take with. So what's life, right? We need a house if we want to be able and be a part of society. I need food, I need water, maybe I need a pension plan. Like when you think what life is, what you need to live, is very clear what there is in need of. So this was clear as a teenager. Everybody's a plus. If they want, they stay around. If I want, I'll stick around. If not, it's not. That's fine. The trust part, while others stay in that space of duality, for me, it was clear, thanks to psychology, that they're not recognizing what they're doing, essentially. And so that envy, the jealousy, the spitefulness, all those areas where people to this day as adults will say, I need to be strategic. Those who tune in, the story of my one friend that I had the falling out for 5 years. Somebody would label that situation. I didn't, because I didn't expect anything different from him, her. From him, the only part I expected to be different was for him to take ownership of what he had done versus try to be this person. Well, and see, this is where he still to this day doesn't see that part. It's part of his ego, it's part of his facade. I'm the one who gathered more information and recognized, okay, he defends himself even further for the fear of being hurt. And the fear of being hurt is every human being's reason for not being transparent with themselves and with others. And that's the part. So I never expect people to be without the ego, is what I'm trying to get at, because I understood just how deep it runs. And now that I know the societal engagement, the first nervous system's immediate response, and the fact that there's so many of those ego spiritual and ego mind group leaders, that people are going to find their 10 laws and stick to it. The same way, like I was saying, these people at the party, they think that they're not doing the same exact thing that they're accusing others of the Christian faith of doing. And they will continue to say that, and they will justify it the same way somebody else, when I shared my experience, was like, no, but they didn't mean it that way. No, they meant it that way. That they were actually doing that thing. Like they were speaking. Why have you not converted yet? Why have you not, that's the part. Again, our minds will justify, and that isn't thing that stops, but it does become something different when you're like, wait a minute, I'm doing the same thing another person is doing because I'm passionate about it this way, because it's important to me. Once you acknowledge your heart is always involved, your ego, you stop being egocentric because you're taking ownership. You're presenting it. This is mine. I know it is mine. And that's where the versatility for you is always expanding in subject matters, interactions, everything. Those challenges no longer are challenges, but they're always going to be opportunities for you to move beyond. So the ego is present as soon as your heart is not in neutrality space. As soon as it's in more of a competition space, and you will be able to tend to it with love and the neutrality towards the external. So like with leadership, I acknowledge the disappointment is not on leadership as much as it is I know that I followed it for my reasons and it then proved to be the opposite of what my heart. But once I gained that awareness, I fixed that in all areas, which is funny because now I go to spaces where other people definitely are like, no, but this person, that person. It's like, yeah, okay, you keep doing that. And the part of awareness with yourself, and then knowing that the world doesn't revolve around you, right? And that there's so many different beliefs, and that for all people, it comes from their heart. It comes from their hurt. It comes from their fear, which is why it's the empowered individual who will support the fear to be transmuted, because we'll be able to pick up, as we already are doing, those specific hurts and to say, okay, we get it, but here's what we can do to work with all sides and to create, this isn't a life threat. This is something that is important and it happened in this way and that way. So with the neuroscience, we're going to uncover more and more with those areas of the people who are not as adapted with our society, and we'll be able to support them further. But the first part that this support happens is in changing the conversation from hatred, judging, evil, all these labels that are given to these people, and say, wait a minute, we want to address it with love and care and respect for all, because that's how we're going to become more of a united force, and really to break free from them being in repeat scenarios that they were in as infants. That's the thing. Hurt doesn't lead to love, it leads to hurt. So I will be back again tomorrow with more for you guys. Today, again, a short one, but I look forward to hearing your thoughts and experiences on the topic. Calling in on Anchor, or leave a voice message, and you can also always email me. You find the email in the About section on the blog, luna12780.com, and on the website, inspiringhumanpotential.com. Have a great day. Sending you all lots of love, hugs, and smiles.